Hi and welcome to this video. Thank you for stopping by. In today's video, I want to speak about how to overcome interview nervousness. Nervousness is something that is very common, especially when you're going to have a conversation like an interview. And you'll ask yourself, why do you get nervous even after thoroughly preparing for a job interview? One of the reasons people get nervous is due to the fear of unknown, because you actually don't know what the interview is going to look like, what type of questions you're going to be asked, or who you're going to meet in that panel. So by default, that actually makes you feel so nervous, so afraid, and creates tension in that you find sometimes people get into an interview and begin to shake or even begin to sweat in their hands. That is actually a result of nervousness. It is very important that you understand how to overcome nervousness so you're able to perform at your optimal in an interview, so then you're able to actually increase your chances of getting hired. That is what I want to share in today's video. So stay till the end, because I'm going to share practical insight and step-by-step guide on how you can overcome nervousness and increase your chances of getting hired if you're lucky to get invited to an interview. So let's get into it. Number one thing that you need to do if you're preparing, and of course if you want to eliminate pre-interview nervousness, is to get ready. You actually need to get ready, because one of the reasons, as I've already said, that would make you feel nervous is the fear of unknown. So you need to get ready by getting to know as much information as you can about your interview. Number one, what you need to know, you can begin by getting to know the panel, who will interview you. Maybe you get to know if the person who will sit in your interview could be your line manager to be. Another thing you need to know when you're getting prepared for a job interview, how to answer the commonly asked interview questions. So why you need to know this is because the more you familiarize yourself with the answers to the commonly asked interview questions, the more going through an interview becomes easy for you. The more you familiarize yourself with the process, and the more you gain confidence and reduce that anxiety or the nervousness. So it's not actually a leeway, or now that I've said that you need to familiarize yourself with commonly asked interview questions, that you need to go and memorize or try to cram the answer to these commonly asked interview questions. No, that is not the correct way to approach it. What you actually need to do is to get to know what type of these questions are. For example, maybe a question like, tell me about yourself, or tell us about yourself, irrespective of how it is going to be asked in an interview. That is a question that there are lower chances that it will lack in any interview, because of course that is the icebreaker, that any panel will ask you that question to get to know who you are in terms of your education, academic, work experience, and all that they need to know just to set the pace for the interview. So then it does not mean you're going to cram or you're going to memorize the answer to this question. Rather, if you answer this question severally and you know how to describe yourself, you get to build that confidence. So you need to practice responses to such questions like, tell me about yourself, or another common question that you could also find is, tell us about your weaknesses. So if you're able to practice responses to these questions, then you build confidence, because the more you say it, the more you get to know it, and the more you say it, the more clarity you get finally when you get into practical interview situation. And also when you're preparing, it is very, very important that you go an extra mile to understand more about the organization. Sometimes when you get to an interview, you're asked that question of, tell us what you know about us. And it looks very weird if you want to be hired by an organization that you can't even say anything about them. So just again, just to summarize this point, as you prepare, it is quite important to know as much information as you can about the interview. So it clears, or rather it reduces that bit of fear of unknown. You get to at least know a little, you get to familiarize yourself with the interview process, and you're actually able to reduce nervousness by doing so. Point number 2, and what you can do to reduce nervousness, is planning ahead. Most of the time, candidates get nervous when they get to an interview late. So what will make you get into an interview late? The obvious reason is maybe if you didn't know how long it will take you to get to that place, you left home, or you left where you are, or you left for that place late than the estimated time that it could take you to get to the interview venue. Nowadays, I know some interviews are done virtually. So for a virtual interview, this is how you can plan ahead. For a virtual interview, of course, you already know you will need a device, either your mobile phone or a laptop or a desktop, whatever it is that you'll use. So in planning ahead, this is the time that once you've been invited for the interview, you need to get this device ready. If it is your mobile phone, you need to test if the application that will be used for the interview can actually work well in your phone. So then what do you need to do? At that point, you need to download that app, have it on your phone and test it, because also sometimes you get candidates get into a virtual interview and 5 or 10 minutes before the interview, they're not even able to figure out how do they mute themselves, how do they unmute, how do they put on their video, because it is actually the first time they're interacting with that device, with that application that is being used for the interview. That is actually something that can cause a lot of nervousness, because I can't imagine you're on that other side, you keep telling the panelists to give you more time to figure out how to mute yourself, how to unmute yourself, how to put on your video. So, but this is deemed to happen if this is the first time you're interacting with that application. So at the point you're being invited for an interview, I'm sure if it is a virtual interview, they'll always tell you, for this interview, please note we'll be using this application, whether it is Microsoft Teams, whether it is Google Meet, whether it is Zoom, whatever application that is being used. Always ensure that you download it and have it in the device that you'll be using for the interview earlier before the interview. Don't get into the interview and try to figure out how does this application work. Maybe you're being told to project a presentation or to share your screen, and you've never even known how you can share your screen via that application. And also when planning ahead, when you're having an interview, a virtual interview, please test your network. Ensure that it is working properly with the device that you have, because sometimes you also get into an interview, a candidate realizes that maybe they're not able to use the Wi-Fi is not connecting. At that point they request for more time, maybe to buy bundles and all that, and already you've just actually spoiled everything. And if you're lucky enough, maybe with a very patient panel, they'll always wait. But in some cases, when network becomes a problem, panelists are even having to reschedule or to cancel an interview. So please plan ahead. Another way that you can reduce nervousness before an interview is just to take a walk. So it doesn't matter where you're taking the interview from. If it is a physical interview, the moment you get to the premise, maybe 10 or 15 minutes before, and you feel nervous, please just get up and take a walk. Because when you take a walk, you're able to release that nervousness. You're able to overcome that nervousness. So take a walk around that building, take a walk around that premise, and get to familiarize yourself with that environment. And when you're doing that interview from home, you're already seated, you're already set up before the panel, before the call starts or before the panel joins the call. Please just walk in that room where you are, just walk around, just walk as you listen to yourself and just live in the moment. So you're able to release that tension as well. Another way that you can reduce tension is to eat fast. I always say in whatever it is, please always ensure that you eat fast. So for instance, if you have an interview scheduled for morning hours, it is very important that you ensure that you have a good breakfast. So why am I insisting on this point? Because you can't actually do well in an interview on an empty stomach. Number one, your energy levels will be low. You'll not be as lively, as active as you should be. So when your energy levels are low, you're actually not able to perform optimally. So please ensure you have a good breakfast before you get to an interview. And if your interview is scheduled for an afternoon time, please just ensure you have a good lunch. Just never get into an interview room on an empty stomach and when you're feeling hungry. It will hugely affect how you will perform, how you'll engage with the panel, your energy level, your level of actually staying active. It will greatly affect you. So just ensure you have a good meal and ensure that you're not on an empty stomach before you get into an interview. Another point, if you want to deal with pre-interview nervousness, please ensure to visualize success. So this is how you can visualize success. You can just imagine yourself in an interview with a panel and imagine yourself having that engaging conversation, a confident person. Imagine yourself actually acing that interview. You see, it brings a good feeling. It actually brings a nice feeling. And when you have that nice feeling, you're able to have a very good vibe and able to actually perform well in an interview. So if you want to reduce pre-interview nervousness, then you got to visualize yourself in the interview. See yourself, you're already in that interview. You're already answering those interview questions well, the way you should answer them, and you're already winning. So when you see yourself, you're already winning, then you actually bring that positive vibe and you're able to ace that interview. Then another thing that you need to consider when preparing for an interview to eliminate this nervousness is to just know that an interview is a conversation. So yes, if it's a conversation, then it means it is a two-way traffic. It is not only you who is being grilled or interrogative sort of session, because that is one thing that makes candidates feel so nervous, because you look at yourself like you're sitting on this other side and being asked so many questions. So when you look at it like that, automatically it will make you look so nervous. So look at an interview as an interactive session that at this time, you as a candidate, you're interviewing the organization. This is how you're doing it. You're actually also looking at the organization and making a decision whether this is a place that you like to go and work in, whether this organization values aligns with your values. When you understand it and change your perception about an interview from a one-sided conversation to actually a two-way traffic conversation where both you and the potential employer are interviewing each other, then you're able to feel part and parcel of this conversation and be able to eliminate nervousness. So again, at this point, I'll also just echo the fact that it is important that because you're also going to be part of this conversation, it is very important that you write down those questions that you want to go and ask the panel. So as you also ask them questions that will help you make a decision whether this is an employer that you like to work for. Ask questions around culture, ask questions around how it feels to work in that organization, so you're able to get a clear picture, or rather you're able to get as much information as possible on how it feels to work for that organization. Then finally, another thing, if you want to reduce pre-interview nervousness, just to relax, and you just need to relax and know that an interview, like any other conversation, it has two outcomes. Of course, if you do well, you're more likely to win, and of course if you're not able to perform to the expectations of the panel, you're more likely to lose. And why I'm saying this, I'm not saying that it is now a point to give up. I'm saying that you get to a point that when you relax, you let nature take its course, because at the end of the day, it is not the time to kill yourself. So that fear of unknown, and again also what is making people to get nervous, is that we all want to succeed. So yes, it is okay to want to succeed, but again, you're not going to give up your whole life for just maybe, let's say, a 30 or a 20-minute session. So you need to relax and also have a very open mind that if I don't get this, if you don't get the job, but then again, you're going to be very alert to learn from it, so that even you make your next interviews better and more rewarding. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this content was relatable. Please, as I always say, if you want me to speak about a topic, or there's something that you want us to learn about a particular topic, kindly leave that in the comment section, so that next time I'm able to make videos around topics that people want to learn more about. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, so whenever I upload a new video, you're the first person to be notified. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in another video.